Well, I didn't expect to do this one today. We had our live just yesterday, and lo and behold, you go out for work in the morning and the whole world changes. Luton Town had parted company with Matt Bloomfield. Now, the club have released a statement, short but sweet. Luton Town Football Club have today parted company with manager Matt Bloomfield. Matt joined the Hatters in January from Wycombe Wanderers, despite overseeing a run of just 2 defeats in 11 games leading into the final day of the 24-25 season. Was unable to prevent relegation from the Championship following defeat at West Bromwich Albion. Performances and results from the opening 11 matches of the current campaign in League One have fallen below the levels expected, and the board of directors have taken the difficult decision to relieve Matt, his assistant Richard Thomas, first team coach Lee Harrison, and first team analyst Ben Cern of their duties. The board wish to thank Matt, Richard, Lee, and Ben well for their efforts during a difficult period for the club and wishes them the very best for their future. Alex Lawless, aided by Paul Benson, Kevin Foley and Kev Pilkington, will take control of the team for the interim period, starting with Tuesday night's Virtue Trophy trip to Cambridge United. With 2 training weeks ahead of the next league match, the process of appointing a new manager is now underway, which will be led by a committee involving members from the executive team, recruitment, football staff and the board. The club will be making no further comment at this time. So, I hate to say I told you so, but we all said it at the time when Matt Bloomfield was appointed in January, with the club just in freefall through the Championship and needing a steady, experienced hand. Matt Bloomfield was the wrong choice at the time. And obviously we all had that optimistic feeling. Matt Bloomfield could potentially save us. There was a good January. We brought in fellow Asgard, brought Millie Alley in. But ultimately a lot of the transfers were underwhelming. We brought in Lamine Fanny, who we'd actually signed in the summer, and he arrived thinking he'd be like the cherry on top of like a promotion chasing team under Rob Edwards. By the time he arrived, Rob Edwards was out the door and Luton Town were in the relegation battle. Firmly in the relegation battle. Chris Mancoso, we waited to bring him in, and if anything, like a lot of our players, Millie Alley, who sort of excelled towards the end of last season in the Championship. Chris Mancoso, who excelled since starting, we came on in that Watford game, didn't he, for Mads Anderson. A lot of the players have taken a massive step back in their progression, and that is alarming. And I'm not saying Matt Bloomfield is a bad manager at all. You cannot deny the work he did at Wycombe, turning around the way they played from Gareth Ainsworth ball to actually battling at the top, duking it out with Wrexham and Birmingham last season. He did a marvellous job. But what is forgotten about is how long it took him to do that job. And we simply do not have that time. We've already played 11 games this season in League One, and we run the risk of getting left behind, not even making the playoffs. And I want to applaud the club for acting so quickly. They haven't let this drag on like they did with Rob Edwards. The club acted really late with Rob Edwards, and that was a problem. However, the biggest problem came with who they replaced Rob Edwards with. And this goes back to what I was saying about Matt Bloomfield. Not a bad manager, but he was not the right choice for then and there. If we had managed to sort of steady ourselves and acclimatise back to Championship football, then you give Matt Bloomfield a crack at it. Because you can sort of ebb around between, lower mid-table, well, like 12 to 17th, if you're like not in serious trouble and threat of relegation. But we were in and around knee deep in the shit at that time. We needed a Steve Cooper. We needed a Neil Warnock. We needed a manager that was respected and a manager that would take no shit from any of the players, essentially demand that the players play like professional footballers and demand that the players put in the performances that we all know they can do. That was step one that was wrong. And then there was the recruitment. On paper, I think the recruitment has been absolutely fine in isolation when you look at individual players. But then there is the issue of signing players who have perennial injury problems. Signing players that have failed a medical and then proceeding with it anyway. It's always looking too far ahead and not at what is happening right now. It's like when you're crossing the road and you're sort of thinking about what you're going to have for dinner, but at that point you're getting hit by a car because you haven't actually looked where you're going across the road. That is where we are at. We are looking so far ahead at Power Court. We're not looking at the here and now. And yet again, Luton Town are looking for a manager. And this is what worries me. We have time. We have Alex Lawless who can step in. He's got Paul Benson with him. He's got some other people with him. He can sort of take charge on an interim basis for a while. We can find the right person. Right now, I am concerned we are going to rush and we are going to bring in yet another person who is that face. Essentially, what I'm worried about is Gary Sweet and the executive committee, but it's Gary Sweet is essentially going to be thinking, who is the person that's going to lead us out of Power Court? Who is it? And that means we're going to be looking for a manager who's between the ages of 30 and 40, maybe 42, if we're feeling risky. And it's going to essentially be another manager that hasn't earned their stripes yet. Someone like Matt Sadler. Essentially, he's only managed at Walsall. And just plucking him out the air as an example. Matt Sadler, who in 24-25, he had Walsall 10 points clear at the top of League Two, bottled it, and finished fourth. That is what I'm concerned about. You need a manager that is ready-made, a manager that has years of experience behind them. Essentially, it's a do-over from where we were last year. And if we had gotten that appointment right last season, a steady hand just to the end of the season, we could still be in the championship. And then you can get someone like Matt Bloomfield or a Matt Sadler or, one of these project managers to come in and build something once you're established. But right now, it is alarming because I don't think the board accounted for additional League One football when it came to accounting for the stadium, accounting for the capacity of the new stadium, and accounting for the finances for the day-to-day running of the club. Because right off the bat, in terms of TV revenue, there is a £7 million shortfall from the Championship to League One. In the Championship, you get 8 million a year. In League One, you get 1 million a year. Because obviously League One is not as good as the Championship. Just stating facts. But now it has come to a point where the club need to sort of put their ego aside, put that forward-thinking mentality aside, and recruit a manager that is a right hard bastard. Someone that will sit the players down and say, you have not been good enough. Essentially put the entire squad on the naughty step, dumb it down. None of this, I'm from the FA Academy and I have a philosophy and I have this way of playing. No, look, football has been around for over a century, maybe 150 years. At its essence, football is a very basic game, and there has been this influx of coaches that have come in and they've just decided to overcomplicate things. My fingers are pointing at Pep Guardiola because not because of what he's done. What he has done is bring a style of football that is, well, it's really boring to watch, but at the same time, everyone has started to try and implement it. And people don't have players and squads worth hundreds of millions of pounds. You're doing it, you're trying to get someone like Matty Pearson to play out the back. Essentially, he is just a donkey human hybrid. Sometimes you need to keep it basic. Football is a simple game played by simple people. So keep it basic. Don't overcomplicate. Don't overcoach, because essentially the players cannot take the information in. So if someone from 2020 is watching, no idea if you watch. If you do, just make the simple decision. Play it simple. Don't try and play it out from the back with this one, like essentially visualizing walking it into the net before you've even played it out of your box. Just get a manager who is established and commands respect. We need a manager who is known, although the pool that we are going to be fishing in is going to be completely different from the pool that we were fishing in had we still been in the Championship, or if we had actually tried to play it simple last season when we were in the Championship and people were like, oh, Luton Town, they are like every hipster football fan's favourite. It could have been very, very different. But now there is a completely different pool of managerial talent that we can go for. Keep it simple. Get a hard bastard who will put the discipline into the players. But he also has to be charismatic. He has to have passion. And I'm not talking about the passion that Matt Bloomfield seemingly had, that Gary Sweet conveyed to all of us. You need to see it in press conferences. He needs to get the fans energized, essentially walk out the tunnel, turn to the main stand, be like, yeah, come on, get behind the team. We saw none of that. And that's, that is something that Rob Edwards, he was actually quite good at. And the more you look at it, it was obvious the players threw him under the bus. But there's obviously more to it. It's the backroom side. Essentially, whoever we get in needs to take charge of the recruitment as well. Lead the recruitment and tell them, this is what I want. I will not settle for anything else. And have a list prepared. If you cannot get player A, you must get player B. Essentially, not be dictated to by the club. Dictate to the club. Take back the club. Be the manager. The manager that Gary Sweet lamented in that BBC Three Counties radio interview, essentially saying, yeah, Matt takes charge of that. Matt takes charge of that. Essentially, that is what we need. We need someone that will take all the responsibility, bear it, and succeed. Not drown, succeed. Float. And actually grab the club by the scruff of the neck and charge it up the table. Because the players are there. The talent is there. But there's just a lot of work that needs to be done with the attitudes. And Jordan Clark's pointed it out. Cal Naismith's pointed it out. I didn't bother watching George Savile's interview, but I'm sure he also pointed it out. Players need to be running through brick walls for this club. They need to be proud to wear the badge on their shirt. Sure, they might only be passing by, but essentially, if they want to proceed in their career, they need to show they can muck in when the going gets tough. And you know what? A promotion on your CV, it always looks good. It's not too late. We've won 5 games. Yeah, we've lost 5 games as well. But essentially, it's an even keel right now. And, the optimist in me, if you remember that season when we got promoted from League One last time, I don't think we were doing too much better at this point. It was after that 3-2 loss to Barnsley, and then we went on that amazing 6-month unbeaten run. It can happen. But the difference between then and now was we were showing signs that there was more to us. Right now, we haven't shown any of that. We need a manager to come in and get this squad playing. Get this squad showing that they are capable, because we haven't seen any of that this season. I'd still take Steve Cooper. Oh, wait, no, Steve Cooper. He's managing in France, isn't he? Yeah, well, you know what? There's the bookies' favourites, and there's always going to be that manager that just pops up out of nowhere. And I just hope that, I hope the club take their time with it and actually make the right decision. Because when you look at it, since Harford, Money, Buckle, Brabin. Probably got that in the wrong way round. No, it was Harford, Money, Brabin, Buckle, Still. That's 1 in 5. 1 in 5. John Still was the guy. And then after Still, Nathan Jones. Hit the lottery with Nathan Jones. Absolutely hit the lottery. And then there was Graham Jones. And then Nathan Jones again. And then Rob Edwards. And Rob Edwards, he did continue what went well with Nathan Jones. Nathan Jones was that manager that took everything by the scruff of the neck. He slept at the brace. He took everything by the scruff of the neck and dragged the club up. He put all the infrastructure in place, whether you like him or not for leaving us twice. He put all that infrastructure in place, and that got systematically taken apart bit by bit in the Premier League. And it's why we find ourselves now in League One. Essentially, from it, I'd say 2.5 good managerial appointments in the entire time that 2020 have been here. This is a very important managerial appointment, and I hope they take their time and they get it right. Don't be looking at who's the one that's going to be leading us out of Power Court. You need to be thinking who's the one that can turn our season around and take us back up into the Championship. Right, we'll be back with the midweek catch-up Wednesday night, 9 p.m. And I'll probably do a post-match for the Cambridge Virtue Trophy game. Pelly returning. That'll be absolutely wonderful. Everyone, have a great day. As I said, I didn't expect to be doing one of these today. But have a great day whenever you're watching this. And have a great week. And most importantly, come on, you managerless Hatters.